Hey, what's up, guys? It's Flakfire. The hype train is in full effect today for Fallout 4 and Automatron after Bethesda released the trailer for the downloadable content. That DLC slated to come out March 22nd, but I thought I'd give you a bit of a rundown as to what I noticed in that trailer for Automatron. So let's get started and take a look at it frame by frame. So in the first shot we have here some interesting combinations of robot parts. We've got a Protectron body, backpacks, an Assaultron head, and lots of dead robots around. It's interesting because we're made to think that this robot in particular is the one who is talking to us and is asking for our help. So we know that there's going to be some kind of a moral choice involved here, maybe somewhat similar along the lines of what we saw with the railroad, but it's interesting that it is a robot asking for our help, not a wasteland person who is being hassled by these robots, which was the case with the original Mechanist in Fallout 3. In shot number 2, we see the factory, and we see robots building robots. If you look at one of my previous videos, I talk about something that I came across in the robot disposal yard off to the northeast of Sanctuary Hills, and it's a little bit creepy, but robots building robots, I don't know about that. That just seems wrong. In this shot, it looks like we've got a new type of robot of some kind of construction variety. It could be a Protectron variant, but it could also be new different kinds of armor for the Protectron. You can see from the hands there that it has some pretty formidable weapons. This shot here is one that I really like. We've got a Protectron torso, SentryBot legs, one arm from a SentryBot and another from a robot in the previous shot. We also see something in the background. We have a logo, and it says I. I can't make out what's below it. It could say Industries. I'm not sure. I don't think that makes any kind of allusion to the iBot, because the iBot was designed by Robco, so I'm not sure what that's about, but I did notice it here in the trailer. This shot here is by far the most interesting and telling shot in the trailer. You wouldn't think it because it looks really plain and boring. It just seems to be some kind of door opening, but this is the exact way that the door opened to get into the Mechanist lair in Fallout 3. So a neat little Easter egg thrown in there that you might not have caught, that this is pretty much the same door to the Mechanist lair that we saw in Fallout 3, and it is a deliberate reference. In this shot, we got our first glimpse of the Robo-Brain. We haven't seen them for quite some time. For this shot, we have some new, unique clutter in the background here. This is obviously part of the Mechanist layer, but it would be interesting as part of the downloadable content, and for beating it, that we unlocked some of this clutter for our settlements. It's already clearly been put in the game, so hopefully we will be able to have some more toys to play around with in our workshop modes. In this next shot, we've got more clutter going on, also a big boss up here in the corner. We'll see more from that later, and a metallic skull face. This could be something that we might be able to equip on some of our robots. Not sure yet, but we will find out. Again, for this shot here, we see that same blue robot that we allegedly talked to before. So this is making me think, if they've, shown us this robot at least twice in this trailer, this person is going to be, or rather this robot is going to be the catalyst for this downloadable content, probably going to fulfill some sort of Preston role in terms of telling you where to go, at least starting quests, something along those lines. So whatever this robot is named, I have a feeling that we'll be seeing a lot more of it. In this shot here, you might notice that we are out at the Starlight Drive-In, and we are building robots on some kind of platform. So it's my suspicion that if you're going to be building robots, you need to build one of these platforms, just like you would with the power armor stations, your weapons bench, anything like that. This is going to be part of the workshop mode, so you can build them in all of your different settlements and modify, build your robots anywhere as long as you have a settlement. In this shot, we've got Robo-Brain legs, a Protectron head, unique hand weapons, appears to be some sort of hammer saw. Got some unique spike armor on the left side here, and unique color going on in terms of a paint job, so that's pretty cool. If we look in the next shot, we get a close-up of those spikes, and we can see some Tesla coils on the right arm. So showing off some of the different varieties that you can modify your robots. This next shot, we are at the Red Rocket. We can see a Protectron mod in progress. Here we see a variety of mods, including the RoboBrain, so it's neat to know that we can actually have our own RoboBrain companion. If you've been following my videos, I was really hoping to be able to do that, so that's exciting. In this shot, we've got a couple new unique items, and mainly it comes down to the face, which if we look at some of the other robots here, we can see that that face is really a vision sensor, and you can put it on other different things. I'll get to that here in a little bit, but really weird combination of items here to create this robot, but it does have a custom color. Here we have a walking pink Mr. Handy with the vision sensor as an eye that we saw in the previous shot, so we know that we'll be able to modify Mr. Handy all the way down to the eye stalks, which is pretty cool. This next robot, this one is scary. It's got to be derived somehow from the Sentry Bot, probably some modifications to the armor, but we've got some different legs, and this really crazy looking skull head. So not sure how we're going to make that, but it is intimidating to say the least. Here we see another Sentry Bot variety with lots of different armor appearances per robot type. We have an Assaultron type head with some kind of bear or cat overlay, which looks interesting to say the least. In this shot, you can see you walking with your Robo Buddy, just like we saw with Dogmeat in one of the original Fallout 4 trailers. So Bethesda obviously hoping that you'll develop some kind of emotional connection with your robot. In the next few scenes, we see some robot-on-robot violence. There are some clues here as to mods that you can put on your robot. This shot in particular, you can see some kind of jets firing on the back of the robot. We see that again later in the trailer, but it looks like it might be something along the lines of Pain Train as a perk that you could do in your power armor, maybe somewhat related to that. In this shot, some very interesting variations of robots. The Protectron actually looks survivable, which says a lot about Protectrons, but the real winner in this shot is the Sentry Bot type torso with Mr. Handy jets. It's ridiculous, and it is exactly what I wanted. I am not lying. I wanted to be able to have this really top-heavy robot flying around and just have it be completely impossible from a physics side of things, and I am super stoked that that is exactly what we're going to see here. But that, and it also has this really crazy drill going on, so that looks like that'll be something you can equip on your robots as well. In this scene, we see one of the robots that we saw in a previous scene fighting a Mr. Handy, but this Mr. Handy has kind of some neat little armor attached to it, so we might be able to have armor for our robots just as we would have armor for ourselves. I say that in the sense of not it really being a mod, but actual equipable armor that kind of is hinted at here by the appearance of this Mr. Handy. Again, in this scene on the bridge here, we've got a very large Sentry Bot using that kind of jetpack ability that we saw before, but here it's very obviously part of some kind of charge to inflict damage. And for the first time, we see some flamethrower hands. Similarly, in this next scene, we get our first glimpse at a shish kebab hand, which is pretty awesome. After that, we've got some new weapons here in this shot, and these are player-equipped weapons. So we've got this kind of hand-wielded buzzsaw blade and appear to be walking through some kind of decon. This shot here, really interesting. We can see that the player has equipped some kind of robot armor, so we know that that is a new armor type coming to Fallout 4 with the Automatron expansion, but I want you to pay close attention to the new weapon that he's wielding, which is very obviously procured from an Assaultron head, which is both crazy and kind of sad at the same time. Another thing to mention here, obviously the player is wearing a helmet made out of an eyebot. In this scene, we've got a couple crazy-looking construction robots that appear to be some kind of mashup between a Mr. Handy and a Protectron. Here we've got a double sword melee type attack that appears to have some kind of Deathclaw-like animation to it. Here we see that buzzsaw weapon actually being used, very obviously derived from that standard Mr. Handy weapon. So we might be seeing an entirely new class of weapons here based on robots. We did see the Assaultron head weapon earlier, so that lends some credence to that. Here we see another new weapon being used. This one looks electric, so that may deal additional damage to robots. It also might be some kind of railgun. If you look at it closely here, that appears to be the function of the design. The character also wearing some new armor here as well. On the receiving end of this shot appears to be an Eyebot with some kind of unique armor. So we know that if Eyebots are capable of being robot companions, that you will be able to mod them in some way, shape, or form. Here we see the factory that we saw in one of the earlier scenes, and it looks remarkably clean. Take a look at this poster over here. It doesn't appear to be worn or damaged like pretty much everything else in Fallout's nuclear post-apocalyptic world. So, good chance this facility buried somewhere deep underground and remained undiscovered until the Mechanist appeared. What we're seeing in this shot is probably one of the game's bosses. We don't know, but it is the most intimidating robot that we see for the entire trailer. So don't expect this fight to go easy. And in this scene here, we see some flamethrower hands actually in action. They appear to be some form of Gatling flamethrower. I don't know how that works from a technical point of view, but that is apparently what we're seeing here. And then in this shot, we have the reveal of the Mechanist. And I was one of the people, I did not think that we were going to see the same Mechanist from Fallout 3 for a lot of reasons. You know, the voice here is totally different, and if it was the same Mechanist from Fallout 3, if you guys remember that Mechanist, he liked to think of himself as a hero and was doing the right thing, even though he was a little bit misled. And this Mechanist here seems completely insane from the voiceover. He's actually monologuing, so you know he's bad, but he does look a lot like the Mechanist from Fallout 3. Obviously, the costume appears different. It does appear significantly newer, which may or may not mean that it is the same person, but I would say they probably did not use the same voice actor for this role, so that puts another nail in the coffin of, is it the same Mechanist from Fallout 3? We just don't know. We'll have to wait till the end game. Maybe there'll be that Scooby-Doo unmasking moment, and maybe it's a robot, or maybe it is Scott Walensky from Fallout 3. We'll just have to find out. Some other interesting things from this shot here. You can see the Robo-Brains in the background kind of running the operation. You see the Mechanist's Eyebot companion. And then one thing that I thought was interesting was if you look on the side of the main control here, they've got Robo-Brains stacked on the wall, which I thought was a nice touch. Here we see that quintessential layer shot while the Mechanist is monologuing. And then we see a whole bunch of robot combinations. So that gives you a good idea of what you'll get to see here in Fallout 4's Automatron. If you missed the trailer announcement, I will go ahead and link the original trailer in this video description. And Automatron is slated for release on March 22nd. If you missed that little bit, so mark your calendars for next Tuesday. That's the day when robots invade the wasteland. Well, I hope you enjoyed this analysis of Fallout 4's Automatron trailer. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time, and thanks for watching.
Vault door cycling sequence initiated.